There he
Hey,
is,
Mark.
Dr. V, one of the most horrible English, one of the leading addiction specialists in the world, and smart and a nice guy, great family guy. What
Oh,
more can
Mark.
you ask for? A good friend. You can't ask for more. He's easy
Oh,
to
Mark.
talk with. He teaches me everything. I know nothing for 53 years. He kept me on the straight and narrow.
Not at all. Not at all. You taught me a lot, Mark.
Yeah, I
Great
taught
being
you.
here with you. Great being here with you.
Okay. We got a couple things or three or four things we want to go through today. Thank you all for coming on. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Willie Mays. I'm going to throw this out to you, Dr. V, because it was a different world then.
Yes.
When we grew up, I didn't see the National League stars. We heard about the National League stars. I was an American League guy. So I knew Brooks Robinson and Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford. God, I hated the Yankees. Everything was focused on the Yankees. But I knew the stars in the American League. When Frank Robinson came over, became a star. Jim Palmer, I love the Orioles. What am I going to tell you? But you wouldn't see Willie Mays or Hank Aaron or Juan Marichal or Bob Gibson or any of those guys until either the All-Star game or maybe the World Series. So to see Hank Aaron, to hear about Hank Aaron, and he broke the record, I went, okay, great. But he was on the Braves. He was a National League player, right?
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
so I know that you loved Willie Mays, and
Yeah.
I know that you were a National League guy. So why
Okay.
don't you tell us? I mean, I know he was great. I know all that. Why don't you tell us what made him super wild great? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I knew Willie Mays mostly when he was with the San Francisco Giants, but he started, of course, with the New York Giants. And some of his most famous plays are a little bit before our time when he made that catch in the Polo Grounds in 1954, and he was just an incredible athlete. He was incredibly fast, great hitter, great base runner, defensive player was fantastic. And I mostly remember my older brother talking about "Say Hey Willie Mays," and I think Willie Mays was his absolute favorite player. But I used to watch him play when he would come to town and play the Phillies, and he was just an absolutely fantastic player. It, what's interesting for me is it's hard to conceive that in my lifetime there was a player who started out his career in the Negro Leagues. It's again, it's hard to keep in mind that we
We got
live
a
in a
heart,
time.
baby. Thank you for the hearts. We see hearts. Thank you. We love you. Go ahead, Dr. V. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that we live in a time when ball players that we knew started out in the Negro leagues and came over to the
Mm.
National League and the major leagues, and he was just absolutely loved. So it was a little bit past the time when there was a lot of prejudice against blacks and that sort of thing. I didn't perceive any prejudice against him. Just he was just absolutely loved. He was just a fantastic personality, great ambassador of the game, just absolutely loved.
Unless he wanted to go to a hotel where white people were in the old days in the 50s and
Uh-huh.
early 60s. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about why he was so great. Like I said, I really didn't know because I'm an American League guy. We love the hearts. Thank you. But what I think is important for people to kind of remember or understand, because you got to learn a little history, is how separate the American League and the National League were.
Yes.
Because you had no national media. There was no ESPN. There was no Fox Sports or whatever was out there. So you hear about Willie Mays, you maybe see something in the newspaper, but your newspaper was focused on local or the American League
Yes.
or the NFL or something like that, and not on the other. Whereas you guys had a third baseman. Who was your big time third baseman back in the 60s? He hit
Dick,
pretty good. Who?
Dick Allen, Richie
No, not
Allen.
Dick.
He started out
Not
at Richie
Richie
Allen.
Allen, third baseman for the Phillies. He was like big time. They thought he was really good. They thought he was as good as Brooks Robinson. They're sick in the head in
Oh
Philly.
well,
They're sick in the
the
head in
greatest
Philly.
ball player of all time, of course, was Mike Schmidt. But are you
Mike.
talking Mike
Oh,
Schmidt? Of course, yeah. But I
thank
mean,
you.
Rich in the '60s, it was Richie Allen.
Mike
Oh,
Schmidt.
come on, no, no,
Goodbye.
no, no, no.
Goodbye.
Don't tell me Brooks Robinson was
Brooks was
close
the
to
greatest
Mike
third baseman. How
Schmidt.
about
Now,
Frank
come on,
Robinson? How
no,
about
no, no,
Frank
come on.
Robinson?
Frank,
Frank won the Triple Crown in both leagues, MVP in both leagues. Frank, don't give it to me. I
oh,
love you.
come
That's what
on.
was.
No, he's
That's
the
let me tell
greatest
you something.
third baseman of all times, hands down. No debate. There's no
Are you
debate.
kidding?
There's
Brooks
no
won
debate about that.
18 gold
No debate.
gloves.
No debate.
18 gold
Oh,
gloves, and
no.
his hand was gold. Okay, either way, we'll go on to the next thing. That's what the fun of baseball was. I'm sorry, sports was then. You didn't know we would just sit there and yell and scream and argue at each other and go to the
But
next thing.
but
Wait till next year. What?
you're raising a good point though about when we were growing up, there was a lot of focus on local sports. When I had my transistor radio listening to the Phillies, I just listened to the Phillies. I didn't listen to Baltimore. I didn't have ESPN. I didn't have sports on 24 hours a day. I had, one time when I would listen to the sports, the game would be over, and then I would do other things. And one of the things that I'm concerned about now is we have such access to things all the time that it's really easy to get super focused on one thing. And that a point, that it reminds me of the social media and how that's
Hold on.
okay.
Time out.
All
We'll
right,
get
time
to
down.
social media. Look, we love people watching. This man is the addiction man in the world. I'm not joking. One of them, so he loves to talk about. So it's like it's like a horse. You got to pull him back sometimes. He's bucking Bronco. You got to pull him back. Hold back,
All
Silver.
right,
We'll get to that. We were working it earlier, but we'll get to that. Let's
all
get
right,
to our next thing.
got it.
You notice how Russia is hanging over in North Korea and how they just made a deal with North Korea. And this is what I want to understand, okay?
Yeah,
I know I'm no genius. How many videos have I been putting up on Just an American Citizen for the last 2, 3 years
absolutely.
talking about the big four who are coming after us, how America is on the defensive and they act shocked. I watched the news today. Korea, Kim Il Jong and Putin made a deal. What's the shock? You got four groups against us: Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea. And China isn't the number one guy after us. China does deals with us. They trade with us. We can work in some ways with them. Russia, they're a gas station, and all they want to do is fill up tanks and blow people up. Read what Putin says. Read. I don't understand the MAGA bund. They sit there and they go, oh, Putin. It's the MAGA bund. Okay, you'll learn. We'll talk about that one day. It's not the MAGA, they're MAGA bund. Either way, they sit there, they moan. This guy, they says today, we're coming after America. How long have they been saying it? Read what Putin's been saying for the last 3, 4 years. His moving to Ukraine isn't just that. He's the guy making the problems. If he wasn't around, we could deal with everybody else. But Putin is trying to set everybody up the way Iran uses the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah. He's trying to use China, Iran, and North Korea to do his fighting, and he does some fighting and gets it backed up. And that's what's going on. And everybody's sitting back going, ooh, what's the shock? Wait till the next treaty comes down. What are we doing? And we're not getting crazy here in this country, getting ready for it. We worry about some terrorists that may be here. They may be. I agree that we had issues on the border, but we know this is right in front of us. Well, you think Trump's going to do a better deal with this dirtbag? This guy's a killer. He throws people out windows. He blows you up in the jet. He feeds you poison. He sticks you into the gulags. What am I missing? And everybody's stunned. That is our enemy, Dr. V. It's the Russians. And we got Putin, really, I don't know the people. Putin, he's made his whole country military, and we got to get ready, and we're not getting ready. Everybody says China. China, okay? Putin, Russia. I'm sorry, good.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and you've been talking about this for a long time, and the question is, what can we do about it? What can we do to try to change the trajectory here? And I suspect that all the stuff that's dividing this country apart just really plays into what they're trying to do. They're trying to band together, and their goal is to drive us apart, and then eventually they'll be in a position where they can have power over us. So it's important for us to work together and to be united as a country to address this issue.
I love you. It's not an issue. It's a threat. We have, I mean, I'm sorry. That's, I go crazy with just an American citizen. Now, I look at this and I go, we can't sit back and we have to start really getting our defense ready. These guys they're telling us what they're going to do. They say it. I'm sorry. Let me throw this out. Somebody said I missed it. Happy Juneteenth. Non-refundables reminding me. I'm sorry. I don't know why I didn't say anything. I meant to say at the beginning. Wow, can you believe that goes back to what we were talking about with media? Took years to be able to get to the enslaved in Texas to find out that Abe Lincoln had made his speech. I mean, it's like the Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's just now you say something in 1 second, it's everywhere. You just can't get away from it. But I'm just so worried about what's going on. And forget China. Focus Russia. If you trade, money's important to China. If we keep trading with China, we can do things with them. The problem is Russia because they got nothing except hate. Read theirs. Have you ever read any of his stuff, Dr. V? He thinks he's a czar. These people are like, zing. Oh no, bold head. I see that, bold head. Too bad. And the guy in blue is Dr. V. Go ahead, Dr. V. Bold head wants to hear from you.
Oh,
Jeez.
I love to hear Mark talk. There's no question about it. Hey, now, first off, let me say I agree with everything that you're saying, but now I'm going to put on my psychiatrist hat a second and say, how how does Putin and the people in Russia see what's going on from their perspective? If we really want to do something about it and change the trajectory, how do we understand where they're coming from? And perhaps Putin is so paranoid of our strength, our alliances like NATO, that he's trying to do something comparable for Russia. And so that's why he's trying to have his own NATO to combat our NATO.
That's why you invade a country. That's why you commit genocide. That's why you steal kids from that country and make them Russian. And those of you writing us, thank you. Oh, why is it high? It's high because Joe Biden's a pretty good president. And Boldhead, I'm with you. And you guys now refund Patricia. Give us thumbs up. Give us some hearts. We love you either way. So come on. He's destroying that country. It's not a matter of, oh, he's worried, this, that, and the other. If you look at their history, I'm wrong. I got to keep talking. I was told, geez, stay out of it. Keep talking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But let me say this, that a couple weeks ago, my dishwasher died. And so I called this guy to come over to fix the dishwasher. And he was a Russian. He came to this country. He had a girlfriend in the United States, came to this country. I think he's legal. I don't know. But so
We
he
love the
came,
hearts and thumbs up. Thanks. Go ahead.
he came to fix the dishwasher. But mostly we spent like 2 hours talking about Russia. And he's telling me that the Russian people do not like Putin. They don't like him. But of course, they can't say anything or else they, get thrown out the window or whatever. But he also said that there is a certain percent of people who love the idea of having a father figure, somebody who's speaks tough, somebody who's going to stand up against
Look at
uh,
those hearts.
the
Go
Americans,
ahead.
and so
Right.
there's a certain part of their personality that loves having a autocrat in power, and that's what makes it so tough. We have to be careful because in this country we could lean in that direction as well. There's human beings have a certain part of their personality where they just like to have somebody in a position of power to help make sure that they're safe. People are worried about dealing with anxiety, dealing with threats, and they want somebody who projects an image of being strong and is going to keep them safe. And that's what I think Putin provides for Russia.
Non-refundable. You talked about the stock market. I'm sorry, the stock market's pretty good. I just, and Biden is the president. A president, let me throw this out, okay? Just understand whether you like Biden or not, whether you like Trump or not, whether you like Reagan or not, whether you like Carter or not. We lived through all these guys. When you're president, The bottom line is what happens good is when you're watching, what happens bad is when you're watching. And you have to accept credit. You get the credit for what's good and you get the blame for what's bad. You can't say, well, if he had a problem, hopefully one day it'll be a woman, but if he had a problem, well, it wasn't his fault, but it's his fault. It doesn't work that way. When it's good, it's good. But, like let's use Biden, okay? Biden has had his problems with inflation. There are reasons for it. We had the economy come out, the supply. But under Trump, we lost hundreds of thousands of Americans during COVID. So what's good is good and what's bad is bad. You got to accept both and say, that's where we are with it. So that to me, it's just too obvious. And I just tired of everybody. It's like him, his fault, his fault. Nobody wants to just kind of look at it when we can see what's really going on there. And that's my problem. I mean, all these guys are the same, Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should have a whole thing on the economy and Biden's response to inflation, that sort of thing, and what we can look forward to under a Trump administration. Uh, I mean, the bottom line is, in general, the economy is doing well with low unemployment. Stock market's doing well. Appreciation on homes is doing well. And so, from a certain perspective, the economy is doing pretty well. But then I talk to my kids, and they're having a hard time buying a house. When they go out to dinner, it's really expensive. uh, I think for younger people, they don't see all the benefits of a good 401k and having home appreciation. So people like us, the economy's been better for than people who don't have the resources. And so there's an inequality in terms of how the economy hits people. If you're on a limited budget, trying to pay your food bill is more difficult now than it used to be. No question about it. But again, I'm not sure a new administration is going to change that. I think there's certain fundamental things that we need to understand, and I don't think people are willing to make any of the hard choices to really try to change things. And that would involve sort of bringing money from richer people to poor people to have some more equality in how our income is distributed. We don't do that. And and it's really hard, I think, for people to see a way to do that. But I think still people feel unease that there's some unfairness in the country, and I think that's being directed at Biden, but I'm not sure that's the source.
If I may, that's the feeling all around the world. I think part of the problem, though, is people forget something. I mean, what was the interest rate on your first house, Joe?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean,
What
yeah,
was it? Mine
like
was
in the
thirteen
teens.
and a half
Yeah, yeah,
percent.
it was in the teens.
13 and a half
Yeah,
percent. Don't get me wrong. There's no question things are tough out there. And there's apps, thank you for the hearts. And there's people really got it tough. And this inflation, we were living through heavy inflation. If you remember, people would go into stores back then. People didn't have computers. You had the white tabs that people would put on top of your prior price. So every 3 weeks there'd be another tab put on there. Talk
right.
about inflation. And people come in, take the tab off, and they pay less because nobody had computers to know the difference then. I'm with you. We lived through it. Like, how about when you had gas lines? We were in school. Remember, you had to wait. We were lucky where we were. There was plenty of gas because it was a hub. But the cities, you had to overnight. People were sleeping in cars waiting for gas.
Well,
Remember
do
that?
you
So
remember?
all I'm saying is this: I'm with you. We had Jimmy Carter. We had hostages in Iran. It was horrible. It's not great now, but we're better than any other country in the world. And I know we got problems and we got to deal with it and we got to help our people. That's what's so important. Non-refundable. I understand, but we have to look at where we are compared to where everyone else is and what we're dealing with. And we got to start working together instead of moaning and groaning. We got to find what's good and try to turn it because we got so much coming at us from outside. We really got to start making it happen. Go with it.
Yeah. So I remember that you couldn't buy gasoline, so you weren't even worried about the price because you couldn't
Right.
get it. Uh,
Right.
I was able to go like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to fill my tank. I couldn't go on alternate days because they were limited supply. So it can be much worse. It can be much worse. But I still think there are a lot of people who feel, and I think non-refundable, you're a good example of that. You work hard and you don't see that you're getting ahead.
I
You know, and,
understand.
and absolutely fundamental things are more expensive than they used to be. Fact. Is it Biden's fault? Not so sure about. If you look at policies, and again, we should talk about this when we have more time, but if you look at policies, when you reduce taxes, particularly for richer folks, that's not good for inflation. That increases the federal deficit. The government has to borrow more money. When you impose tariffs on China, what does that do? That increases the price of goods that come in from China. And yeah,
But
again,
then but that's a national security issue versus a cost issue, which leads to that inflation because you have those two competing sides going on there.
and that's why uh, if we had a rational debate on this, it would be fantastic. Not just
I agree.
fingers at other people saying it's Biden's fault or it's Trump's fault, but to have a rational discussion about how we can actually bring down inflation. For example, the price of energy was much lower during the Trump administration. It's more difficult now. It's higher now, and particularly in 2022 when we're coming out of the pandemic and people are traveling more, and there's increased demand for gasoline, and there is problems with getting supply. But again, the administration has actually done a pretty good job in terms of making sure that we get enough of our own oil. I don't think this country has ever gotten more oil domestically, and I think we get more oil than any other country right now. We can export oil. We've done such a good job. Now, that's not so great for the that's great for the economy, but maybe not so great for the environment. But I think the administration has tried to address these issues, but we need to have a rational discussion about it, not just yell at each other.
I'm
That's my
with you. Let's answer this question here, okay? Don Refumble asks, I want to put America first, at least by ourselves. And let me kind of throw this out, if I may. And non-refundable, please. I'm going to just do this. I don't, there's no commercials on our stuff. So please check out Just an American Citizen. Dr. V will tell you here. I've been really hitting that kind of stuff hard. It's a whole overall, California's outrageous. It's a whole overall thing because what happens is America was the center of the economy of the world. Okay. Now, what is going on is it's breaking up. We got to step back and see what's happening. It's breaking up. And these countries, which we always used to know we could deal with or kind of get along with, are now coming after us, trying to bring us down. So we're starting new supply lines. We have to build all new like factories or whatever they call them, farms for semiconductors and all this stuff. You have to move it everywhere. We can't do everything in China. It's got to move to Thailand or Vietnam. And all of a sudden, these costs are going up because we have to uproot everything. We bring it here. We have to do all this. It's very, very tough. So that forces inflation up because we need more materials and stuff to be able to build. In 20 years, we're going to see the benefits of all this. But right now, that's what's happening. So as we fracture, as the American century ends and we fracture, we have to start focusing on our friends. It's not just us. The world's too big. We should be working with the South Koreans and the Japanese and the Australians and Europe because we trade with them. We'll make money with them. We'll help them. It'll help our defense. It'll help our economy as we help their economy because the world is breaking up into two bipolar areas there. And there'll be a middle area. India, you can't trust. South Africa, you can't trust. A couple of these groups, they go back and forth. You're never sure, depending on the election, of course. But you have all that happening. So, yeah, non-refundable. And for anyone asking, that's what the problem is. We're in the middle of a revolution. It's almost like a new Cold War, and hopefully it won't turn hot. And I'm afraid Putin wants to make it hot, and that's why we have to get ready. Now, close it up. What do you have to say on that, Dr. V?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, but humans have two needs. One need is to protect your own stuff. My country first, my family first, my needs first. So that's one need that we have for survival, and everyone else is a threat. And the other need we have is to cooperate, to work together, to have a team of people where you can bring down the giant woolly mammoth or whatever. And you need a team of people to do it. So you have a community. So we we need to have a community of people, and it's really in our individual best interest to work cooperatively with people. And so when we lend support to our friends, we can look at the moral effects of that. That's a good thing. But even more important than the moral is it's in our personal best interest to do that.
Sure. What
And
do
you
you have?
see Putin's
Go ahead.
going around trying to make friends with North Korea right now, not because he's a nice guy, but because it's in his best interest to do that. It's in both their best interest to work together to try to counter what I think they feel is that the Americas uh, coalition of countries, and I think that's what threatens them.
And I'm with you. That's what we got to start focusing and realize our friends, our coalition, we can make money together. We can build our economies together. We can build our defense together. But if we're hanging out there like an island surrounded by the Atlantic and the Pacific, we're going nowhere and it won't matter anymore. It's just got to stop. And it's just go. I just don't understand why we're fighting and screaming at each other when things are so obvious. It really gets me. It just really gets me. I'm sorry. We don't want to get into that. Let me hit another thing before we hit our close. I know people don't like hearing it all the time, but climate change. I mean, are you seeing what's going on out there? And you got guys like DeSantis down in Florida. I'm not saying we're going to implode tomorrow and the world's going to explode out in heat, but how can you say our climate isn't changing for the worse? It's getting crazy out there and it's getting more and more extreme. We see it, the numbers are bigger, and you get these eggheads who are running around going, oh, it isn't climate change. It's normal. What am I missing here? You're the doctor. What am I missing here?
I mean, the data is crystal clear that the temperature is going up, and it's also crystal clear that it's because of increased carbon dioxide, which is a product of burning gasoline and other things. So it, it's a fact. It's just a fact. And if people don't want to accept the fact, they're not being smart. The question is what to do about it. And it's going to be a challenge because we have needs right now to use, to get oil, to have cheap gas to help reduce inflation. But we also have needs for our grandchildren. We talked about that last time, that how much fun it is to be with our grandkids. And I think a part of us has to give a little sacrifice now so that our grandkids can have a better life. That used to be a thing. I don't know about your parents, but my parents, they were willing to make sacrifices for themselves so that their kids could have a better life. And we need to make some sacrifices now for our kids and our grandkids to have a better life. And that means giving up a couple of things. And it's not a secret how we can turn things around. I just bought myself an electric car, and you do to try and do my part. But I think it has to be a whole attitude of the country that looks at this as sacred, to protect the earth, to protect our climate, and to have a better planet for our kids and grandkids.
Okay, let me throw this out to you. I'm a big believer. I remember the first Earth Day, and we have to do all that, but it doesn't work talking that way because nobody wants to hear about protecting the earth and listening to the old music from the 60s and 70s and going, wow, we love it. We wear our flowers. I look at it a little differently. I'm with you. This is how I look at it. Okay. Alternative energy is a major part of our defense and can be a major part of our defense down the road. The sun pumps out incredible amounts of energy. I'm no scientist. I know that. We talk no notes, no sense here,
Yeah.
but the sun puts out an incredible amount of energy. If we can learn to control that energy, store that energy, and have it and be able to use it in different ways, it can be used in so many ways we can't even conceive. I'm not just talking about electric cars. Electric cars are yesterday. Electric cars should have solar panels on them so
Yes.
they don't cost anything. So your cruiser, what are these people thinking? Okay. So we should be doing, just think, if you could have in your hand batteries like we have now that you stick into computers and stuff, and you can control, think of the power you can have. That's where we should be going. We should be putting big money into it. I don't know why we don't have a skunk works. We should be doing that. We've got China, Russia doing it. We can pump out we can license out the information to our businesses and our friends so they can take it to the next level. That's where we should be going. Yeah, we need oil and gas. There's no question, because we can't let Russia and these guys take advantage of our friends or of us, because we got a lot. The problem is, I look at Oklahoma and I hear about all these little earthquakes going on every time they're pumping out all the oil because they're fracking and everything. So I don't
Yeah.
know enough about that, but we need that stuff. But hey, just think, it'd be like a phaser gun. If you can have that kind of control in your hand, just think what you can do. Oh, the destruction that's going to happen. Wow, beyond TV. So that's where you have to start looking. What can we do with this power that we should be taking and try to control and have, and then use it in so many different ways? Just, I can't even think of what we can do. So that's where I think we should be looking. And on top of it, it'd be green, it would help. It would be great for energy. It would be great for the people. And we could grow, and we'd have businesses growing out of it. It'd be shoots growing it's not a matter of giving anything up. It's a matter of taking those steps to make it to the next level. That's where we're going. We're not giving anything up. We're going to the 22nd century, the 23rd century. And that's how we have to start looking at it. That's when I think I get all worked up. I know that. And that I don't know why you put up with me 53 years, guys. He's been putting up with me for 53 years.
That's great. No, I agree with you 100%. That we have free energy out there. We just need to learn to harness it. I remember when I was in sixth grade, one of my first science fair project was to have photoelectric cells to show how sunlight can produce energy. And that's quite a
Really.
few years ago. And we need to develop those technologies. It's right out there. And you're right. It's not just a good thing for the planet, but it's a smart thing financially and every which way. So there's no reason for us not to do that.
We exist because of the sun. Everything is green. It gets brown. It grows. We eat vegetables. We should be corralling that power, and we should be focused on corralling all of that power. Like I said, it's also good for our defense and good for our friends. And there's just lots of stuff we could do with. I've always been a believer. I'm not a believer in wind, though. I think wind's a waste of time. Who knows when it's going to blow? I mean, come on. You're going to put fans up there next to it, and then they wipe out the birds. Okay, I'm with it, but I just don't see where wind works. But what happens when your paint is your solar panel? When it's your paint, not when you have panels up there. So it automatically, right now, your paint absorbs. They put white paint on the top of school buses. Just think, if suddenly it can absorb that power in your cars, we're not going to live to see it. I think it's so exciting. I just can't see straight. Oh man, I just love it. Can't
The,
live long enough. What can I
yeah,
tell you?
the trick is to store it in batteries. So we need to develop better batteries. And the problem is the raw materials for the batteries is scarce. So
We just got to break out and find new ways to do it. I'm
yeah,
with you. I'm sure there are other ways. You have a skunk works. You put the greatest guys and women in there. You put them on. You say, let's go for it. And you can license out what you learned from that to Americans and to American friends. But that's how you do. You say, I'm not fooling around anymore. This is like jive. Okay. We're building another carrier. What do we need a carrier for in the Navy? We need thousands of drones. Look what the Ukrainians are doing to the Russians in the Black Sea. Boom, boom, boom. They don't even have a Navy. They just take the drones and blow them up. I'm worried about what's going to have to be a Spanish Armada with us. Let's wake up. We got to wake up. Okay, okay, okay. Now, we're going to get to our end here. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to get to this quickly. I forgot. What's this stuff about warning labels on social media? I'm afraid, I think there's issues with social media, but what's this warning label stuff? Okay, tell me, don't watch out. It's bad for you. Go ahead.
it is bad.
This is the addiction expert, guys. Listen to what he says. Go ahead.
It is bad for you. And the whole when we were growing up, we had our transistor radios that we would carry around, but the radios were not designed to hold our attention. They would deliver content, but they weren't designed to constantly bombard us with stuff that would give us our dopamine hits to keep us hooked into it. And so we're finding the data is showing that particularly teenagers and particularly female teenagers, the social media is increasing depression, it's increasing suicidality, it's increasing anxiety. It makes people feel more isolated and lonely. It's
And a
unhealthy.
warning label's gonna stop that?
Well, it may not stop it, but it has to bring to public awareness that this is an issue, so that people at least start thinking about it. I mean, we went through the same thing with cigarettes. When cigarettes first were marketed, they were thought to be healthy for you. Your doctor would say, "Well, if you're anxious, have a cigarette and relax." And then we realized all the negative consequences of it. But when someone's making money selling cigarettes, they're not going to tell us about that. They're going to hide that information. And so that's what the idea of a warning label on cigarette packs came out to. Every time you pick up a pack of cigarettes, you at least get to see a warning that this is not healthy for you.
Yeah,
And
but everybody agreed they were cancer sticks by then. You had the guy from Perry Mason, what was his name? Hamilton Berger, the guy
yeah,
who played Hamilton Berger, the state's attorney. He went up
uh,
and he had been smoking, and then he went on TV and he was dying of cancer. I remember that ad. It was like vicious. And he came out, I'm dying, don't smoke
right.
anymore. So you had that kind of stuff going on, and that just got people's attention big time. But how's this? This is really different than that, okay? Isn't it? I mean, you put a slap of warning. Let me ask you something. What if we just say no phones in school?
I don't disagree.
Run with it.
I, I don't disagree with it. I have a 15-year-old teenage granddaughter, and she carries her phone around with her all the time. You're not supposed to have it at school, but I know she used it at school because she would text me once in a while, and it's a distraction. Instead of talking to your classmate next to you, you're paying more attention to your phone. And then the drama that goes on, it creates a lot of anxiety, and people feel bad about their body image. It's really terrible for you. So
Listen, I love you. Hang in. I appreciate body image and everything. I'm there, okay? I'm there. But you're in school. To me, it's a basic issue. You didn't take the newspaper and read the newspaper in class when we were growing up. We went to class, we listened to the teacher, we dealt with the teacher. It's not a matter of rules. That's how you learned. You dealt with it. When you went home, you read the newspaper. If you were in the car, you read the newspaper. Why do you have a phone here? How are you going to learn? If you're looking at your phone, you're not looking at the teacher. If you're not looking at the teacher, you're not learning anything. If you're not learning anything, you can't socially get together with people. And then everything breaks apart. I'm with you, Dr. V. I agree with you 150,000%. I really do. I just don't. I just think people have to start looking at it that way. Schools for schools. School's not there for kids to sit in class and sit on the phone and jive with people, because then it isn't school. Then it's just social time to hang around and cruise. Throw those phones in and pick them up when you leave. Am I wrong? I don't think that's a rule. I just think that's, mm, I don't know. I
kids,
just think it's real at school. I'm sorry.
kids, their brain is not developed enough where they can control everything. I mean, that's why they're not allowed to buy cigarettes, drink alcohol. It's their brain's not developed. So we do need to impose some constraints to help them to grow, to learn. So I don't see that as a bad thing. I agree with you 100%. That's one place you could intervene now. The thing with warnings is that when someone's addicted to something, you're right, a warning's not going to change their behavior to address the addiction. But before someone gets addicted, they need to know what they're getting into. And that's the thing, that people can slide through a slippery slope where they think it's perfectly safe and fun, and they don't realize the adverse consequences associated with it. And that's why you have to warn people that, beware. It's a warning sign. Once you're in it, it's really hard to break. But before you're in it, you should be warned ahead of time.
I'm with you, though I think there have to be more examples for people to see how bad it can be as against being warned. Because until you see, I still remember Hamilton Berger. I
Yeah,
remember seeing that. We talked about that. Wow, he
yeah,
died like 6 months later. But it was
yeah.
like, wow, I just think that's how you get people's attention. I don't know. It's sad, but unfortunately, there's a lot of good stuff about it. You can interact with people, learn things. I go right on the internet. It's so easy to learn things and stuff. So, but yeah, we just got to do it. I just say put those phones in water during the day, and then you do whatever you want when you get home. And mom or dad or the dog doesn't want you to use it, and you don't, or you do whatever you want to do at home. I don't care. Okay, I got a sad thing to tell you. I think I'm being set up, and I'm a little bit worried here. Okay. We're going to get to the Boomer album of the week, but I'm a little concerned. As you know, Dr. V, I went through my collection and I did just randomly last time and found Seals and Croft. I don't know how I found Seals and Croft. And I got attacked by some friends who saw it. And what happened to you? Or is it woo? Okay, so I'm going through, but we had the Sex Pistols we used, and even you weren't nice about it. But I'm getting concerned, and I need your help as a doctor because as I went through and put the Seals and Cross album back in, I found this.
What the heck
The
is it?
other Seals and Cross
Oh
album
God, there you go.
with Diamond Girl.
Diamond Girl.
Diamond Girl. Oh, man. Look. I think I'm getting
Oh,
set up. I don't think I bought this album. It even has the words in it.
oh my
Look at the Seals and
God.
Croft. My rep is dead. I hear it
Oh
getting
yeah.
flushed, and I'm looking to you for absolution. Please
I
help
I
me.
can give it to you. No, I can't give it. Especially if you can't get into Pink Floyd.
Don't give me Pink Floyd. Talk about boring. Pink
Like
Floyd. Good night. Pink
I don't,
Floyd. Ding, ding, ding,
I'm taking
ding.
your Boomer
Nothing.
card back. That's
Let's,
no Boomer card for you.
yeah. Let's get to our album. And remember, we look at our albums. We recommend you listen to the album the way it was done, not with all these extra stuff thrown on and 10 extra songs. It was set 4 songs on one side, 5 songs on the other. Listen to it that way. That's how the artist wanted you to do it. You know, I always love rock. Well, with Seals and Croft, one has to wonder. However, Robin Trower's Bridge of Sighs.
Oh,
One
there you go.
album. Okay. Robin played with it'll come to me. I'm having a senior moment. It'll come to me in a second. Either way, Robin came out. He was like great guitar player. Has Duar, his lead singer who plays the bass. It's a 3-man band with this incredible rhythm behind him. Trower comes in and just starts rocking. Then he blueses out. He's like, you could almost hear a little bit of Hendrix. He takes that little bit of that style, rolls with the blueses, that just gets crazy. That just a little bit of psychedelia, just kind of does this thing, moves on. And this album is like you just put on the headphones and you go, oh, baby. Oh, yeah, you can get up and start cooking, and then you stop and lay back and go, yeah, and then you just go right back to it. Did you have this album, Dr. Lee?
I
Did
didn't
you
have
listen to
that.
this?
He's absolutely a great guitarist. So, sort of like David Gilmour, Big Floyd. we
We're going to call 911. We're going to have to call
we have
911.
the 5 greatest guitar solos of all time. And number 1, of course, is David Gilmour. But well, then we can talk about 4.
The vein is starting to blow in my head.
No,
What are you thinking? Gilmore, he's a joke. What are you talking about?
Agree with me. They'll agree with me. Comfortably Numb. God, no, seriously. Go back and listen to Comfortably Numb, then come back.
Yeah, I'm numb just hearing their name. Let me tell you something. You got Hendrix. You got Eddie Van Halen. You got Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, you're talking real guitar players. You got Robin Trower. Come on, you got Brian May. What are you talking about?
You'll come back and say, oh, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You're right. Now I'm converted.
Please help me. Help him. Please. Dr. V needs some help here. Either way, we're not.
Rob Trower, he also very good guitarist.
Who?
Your guy.
Which guy?
Robin.
Trower?
Yeah.
They're all good. I only talk about the great guitars. Either way, We're not going to be on this Friday with our live stream. I'm getting a different internet, so we'll be going from there. We're going to be back. Please follow my posts, and Dr. V is going to have some posts up soon, so we
Yeah.
can tell you where we are and what we're doing. We're going to be trying to do this maybe even more than once, maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week. We have a great time. We appreciate everybody's likes. We appreciate everybody's hearts. We even got some downs like that. We put up with that too. We don't care. What are we going to do? We love all of you. Thank you all very, very much. And we look forward to talking to you next time. And check out Just an American Citizen for all of our stuff. And where do you want them to go for you, Dr. V?
That
Nowhere on the channel yet? You
that
don't want your channel out there yet?
after it, I got to change the name. It's
Okay, you changed it. I'm
that
overhauling Dr. V. I'm overhauling them. We'll see you all in the next one. We'll post. We're definitely going to be probably by Monday. Well, thank you all very much. We'll talk with you later.
and that's the way it is.
And I always forget, and that's the way it is.
Period.
Period. See you guys later. Thanks.